So let's talk about R and K reproductive strategists. Now this is one of a series of population ecology videos, so please make sure you check them all. This particular syllabus objective is to compare the reproductive strategies and growth curves of K and R strategists. So let's just have a look at these growth curves first of all. You can see here with the R strategists, so we've got exponential growth, then we have a plateau and then a bust. So we've had a boom and a bust. Population almost goes down to zero again, and then we have another boom and we have a bust. That's classic with R strategists. I'm going to talk to you more about what that means in just a second. But let's compare that to K strategists. We start again with the exponential growth, but this is really what we call that logistic growth, isn't it? Because it slows as it approaches the carrying capacity, as the density-dependent factors, those resources and real estate and food and disease and things, start to kick in. And you can see then that we're oscillating around the carrying capacity. Now, interestingly, the carrying capacity is also called K. So that's why K strategists are called K strategists, because they oscillate around the carrying capacity. So when we're talking about different reproductive strategies, I want you to understand that these are different types of organisms that use different strategies for survival. So the R strategists, when the conditions are perfect, when there's no competition, when there's plenty to eat or just perfect conditions for it, that population increases very, very quickly. It booms. But then as soon as the conditions start to get poor again, well, that's when they have a crash, a bust. And so that is a strategy. The strategy is, whenever the conditions are perfect, get in and reproduce as quickly as possible. Their focus is on quantity. Whereas the K strategists, because they're around this carrying capacity, they thrive in an environment that's stable, but that there's lots of competition. So they need to look after their young. They need to really nurture their young. So they have less offspring, but they look after them really well. So if the R strategist, the strategy is about quantity of offspring, the R strategists, their strategy is about quality of offspring. So let's have a look at these two. So R strategists then. R, lowercase r, means reproduction rate. R strategists have a high reproduction rate. So they're things like weeds, they're those pioneer species, they're rodents, so like rabbits and rats, and they're insects like locusts and things. When the conditions are perfect, they produce a large number of offspring really quickly. These offspring rapidly reach sexual maturity and then can also then reproduce as well. They produce a large number of offspring. There's no parenting. The parents don't invest in looking after their offspring. So therefore, many of the offspring don't actually reach maturity and they have a very short lifespan. They thrive in unstable environments where there's low competition. So think about land that's just been recently cleared. So all of maybe it's a bushfire or maybe it's a landslide. The land has been cleared and there's no competition. So the pioneer species, the ones that are going to land there first, are like your weeds. And they grow really quickly and then they bolt to seed, they release their seeds, and then they die quickly. So they're there when they can before other species take over. It's the same with plagues of rats and rabbits and locusts and other organisms that take the opportunity to be able to produce large numbers when they can, and then of course there's followed by a bust. The K strategists, on the other hand, K, as I mentioned, is the carrying capacity. With K strategists, they don't have booms and busts. They have a population that is relatively stable around this homeostatic level of the carrying capacity, or K. So they have a long time to reach sexual maturity. I want you to think about large trees, elephants, even humans. Small number of offspring and large amount of parenting. they have a long lifespan and nearly all offspring actually reach maturity. They thrive in a stable environment where there's a high amount of competition. So think about a forest, a mature forest where there's lots of mature trees. So there's a lot of competition there for resources. So it's a stable environment, but there's high amounts of competition. So they're our K and our R strategists. They're survival strategies. So these are different types of organisms that have different reproductive strategies for survival. So your R strategists, their strategy is to produce lots of offspring really quickly and spread their seeds or spread their DNA for the inevitable collapse. And a K strategist, well, they're in it for the long haul. They really invest in a small number of offspring and bring them through to maturity. So they're different strategies for different types of environments. And of course, we have everything in between as well. We have some organisms that are really very much on the R strategist side and some that are very much on the K strategist side. But then we've got other species that are somewhere in the middle. Now, so I'll leave you with this thought here, is that the R strategists, their strategy is about quantity of offspring, and the K strategists, their strategy is about quality of offspring. How do we remember? R for rats, R for rabbits. Okay, that's the best way for me to remember it. And you think that rabbits and rats, they produce a large number of offspring very quickly. And that is the K and R strategists. Putting it together, you can see the population size for the R selected species or the R strategists is very erratic. We have booms and our busts, whereas the K selected species are very much oscillating around that carrying capacity.